Okay, so picture this. You win. Life-changing money, right?
Right.
But then it hits you. What if winning cost you, well, your well-being?
Ouch. Yeah, that's a rough trade. And that's kind of the story coming out about this Beast Games thing.
These games. Big lawsuit, right?
Huge. And everyone's focused on the juicy stuff, the drama.
Which, don't get me wrong, we're going to get into all that.
Of course.
But the real story, the thing nobody's talking about, is the legal argument at the core of this whole thing.
This is big picture stuff.
Were these contestants actually employees this whole time? Like, were they mistreated, misclassified? Just to, like, what, save a buck? Dodge some labor laws?
It really makes you think, right? Because we all see these huge, flashy productions. MrBeast, he's known for going all out.
Exactly. So today, we're diving deep, folks. Deep dive into this legal battle, the nitty-gritty of it all. Grueling conditions, broken promises, safety issues, all lurking beneath this mega production's shiny surface.
And I'm telling you, this isn't just like, oh, I had a bad time on set. We're talking serious allegations. Things that, if proven true, paint a very different picture of what happens when the line between entertainment and straight-up employment gets blurry.
Blurry is an understatement from what we've seen.
Right. So for anyone who somehow missed this whole thing.
Missed the MrBeast show. Hard to believe.
Beast Games. What was it? Why are we even talking about it?
$1 million question. Well, more like $100 million question. Right?
No kidding. Okay, so Beast Games, massive competition show announced earlier this year. MrBeast, obviously, but the real kicker was Amazon.
Amazon. Like the everything store, Amazon.
The one and only. They partnered up with MrBeast, and we're talking giant obstacle courses, wild challenges, $100 million production budget.
$100 million. You sure that's not an exaggeration?
Nope. $100 million. It was all about spectacle.
Makes sense. MrBeast built his empire on that go big or go home mentality.
Right, and they played up that biggest prize in history angle, tapped into MrBeast's whole over-the-top giveaway stunt philanthropy thing he's got going on.
So naturally, people lost their minds. Thousands wanted in.
And that's where things take a turn, because we got our hands on excerpts from this legal complaint filed by the contestants, and it's against, well, everyone. MrBeast, his production company, Amazon, the whole crew.
Hold on. Back up. Contestants are suing. What's the basis of their case?
They're saying they were misclassified. Basically, they were treated like employees, but legally classified as independent contractors. And that's a huge GE difference.
Okay, so legal jargon aside, why does that even matter? What's the incentive for a production company to pull something like that?
Money, mostly. Misclassification lets companies dodge certain legal obligations. We're talking potentially massive savings. Payroll taxes, benefits, even minimum wage requirements.
So they basically get to have their cake and eat it too. Not cool.
No.
But let's get back to the contestants. What makes them think they should have been classified as employees?
Well, the lawsuit brings up a bunch of points, but one of the big ones is compensation. They're saying contestants were promised and actually got payment, and not just the prize money either.
Really? They got paid just for showing up.
That's what they're claiming. Like participation trophies, but with actual cash.
Wild. Okay, so money aside, what else? There has to be more to it than just getting a paycheck, right?
Oh, there's way more. The complaint talks about control. Specifically, how much control the production companies had over the contestants' lives during filming.
Like, we're not just talking about what happened during the challenges, are we?
Nope. This goes way beyond that. We're talking allegations of them basically being held in controlled environments for days at a time, almost like being like sequestered or something. Limited access to the outside world, restricted communication, even their personal belongings were allegedly taken away.
Wow. So it wasn't just the physical challenges they had to deal with, but a serious mental component too. That's intense.
That's exactly what the complaint is getting at. Like, these contestants were basically at the mercy of the production companies. But there's even more. The complaint also alleges they weren't given adequate food. They were low on hygiene products. Basic necessities.
Yeah. It's sounding less like a game show and more like, I don't even know, survival camp gone wrong.
Right. And this all ties back into the employee versus independent contractor thing. See, in California, they use this ABC test to determine if someone's an employee. And one part of that test looks at how much control the company has over the worker.
So, like, if a company has a ton of control over your time, where you go, what you eat, that's starting to look a lot like an employer-employee relationship.
Exactly. And California law is pretty clear on that. But wait, there's more.
Seriously. More. What else could there be?
Things get really concerning when you get to the allegations about the work environment, specifically how hostile it allegedly was, especially for the women who participated.
Oh, man. Okay, so we're talking about more than just some uncomfortable moments here.
Right. The complaint details some pretty serious accusations, inappropriate comments, unwanted advances. Basically, this overall sense that their safety and well-being were not a priority, and not just like, oh, it's a tough competition, but like actually unsafe.
And do they have anything to back these claims up?
Well, the complaint mentions a few things. One that's particularly interesting is this leaked document. Apparently, it's some kind of MrBeast handbook.
MrBeast handbook? Like what? Is that a joke?
I wish. No, it allegedly outlines how the crew should act on set. And there's this part in there, I'm just going to quote it here. It literally says, "It's okay for the boys to be childish."
Oh, boy. This doesn't sound good.
Just wait, it gets worse. It goes on to say, if talent wants to draw a dick on the whiteboard in the video or do something stupid, let them. Really do everything you can to empower the boys when filming and help them make content. Help them be idiots.
You're kidding, right? That can't be real.
Yeah.
That sounds more like something out of a bad frat party than a multi-million-dollar production.
I know, right? It's insane. But it gets even worse because this handbook is supposedly for the crew, not the contestants.
You're right. That changes things. That means they're basically fostering this boys will be boys attitude among the people who have the most power on set.
Exactly. And that creates this environment where these kinds of behaviors are not only tolerated, but potentially even encouraged, which is incredibly concerning when you consider the power dynamics at play here. These contestants, especially the younger ones, they're looking up to MrBeast. They want to be a part of his world.
It's that classic power imbalance. You've got these aspiring creators, eager to please, and potentially willing to overlook a lot of bad behavior for a shot at fame and fortune.
Precisely. It's a recipe for disaster.
Okay, so we've got potential labor violations, safety concerns, allegations of a hostile work environment. Anything else we're missing?
Oh, it's not over yet. There was also this whole controversy about the number of contestants.
Oh, right. I'd almost forgotten about that. Remind me, how many people did they initially advertise for Beast Games?
They made a huge deal about it being 1,000 contestants.
1,000? That's insane.
Right. It was supposed to be this record-breaking event.
And what happened? Did they just quietly downsize at some point?
Not exactly. According to the complaint, the contestants were told upon arrival that the actual number was way, way smaller.
No way. Are you serious?
Dead serious. Imagine going through all that trouble, the anticipation, the travel, only to find out that your chances of winning were way worse than you thought.
That's not just shady. That's straight up misleading. False advertising, maybe.
Right. And it makes you question what else they might not have been upfront about. And more importantly, what were the consequences for the contestants who were misled? Were they pressured to go along with it because they were already there, already invested?
It's starting to feel like less of a game show and more like, I don't know, a social experiment gone wrong. Totally. And we can't forget about the human cost of all this. Behind all the lawsuits and the shocking headlines, these are real people with real lives, people who might have been subjected to some really tough, potentially even traumatic experiences.
It's easy to get caught up in the drama, but at the end of the day, we need to remember that there are real people who are impacted by this.
Exactly. And we need to start thinking critically about what we're willing to accept in the name of entertainment.
It's wild, right? We see these videos all polished and fun, and it's easy to forget there are real people behind the scenes.
It's easy to get lost in the spectacle, but if even half of what's in that complaint is true, those contestants went through it.
And it makes you wonder, where's the line? What's legal? What's ethical when it comes to these huge influencer productions? It's uncharted territory,
Totally. Like, one thing that really stuck with me, the complaint mentioned contestants being pressured into dangerous stunts.
Oh, yeah, with basically no safety precautions, right?
Allegedly, yeah. And some even ended up in the hospital. It's one thing to sign up for a wacky challenge. It's another to be pushed beyond your limits, especially when there's that much money on the line.
It's like, how can someone even think straight in that situation? Do I risk my health for a shot at the big time? Talk about pressure.
Exactly. And where does the production's responsibility come in? They're the ones calling the shots, creating these challenges.
So where do you draw the line? When does a fun challenge become like a full-on workplace hazard?
That's the million-dollar question. And the legal waters get murky. But it's not just the physical risks, right? The complaint also talked about sleep deprivation, emotional stress, isolation.
Oh, absolutely. The mental toll is huge.
Mm.
Imagine being constantly watched, judged, pushed to your breaking point day in and day out. It's like some kind of pressure cooker.
It's a recipe for burnout, even without the added danger element. It makes you wonder about the long-term impact on these contestants, you know?
It's easy to forget they're real people with real lives. This isn't just a game to them. And then there's that part in the complaint about the production offering to pay for therapy after filming.
I know, right? What kind of Band-Aid solution is that? It almost feels like they knew they were messing with people's heads.
It's like, we might have messed you up pretty bad, so here's a coupon for a therapist.
Mhm.
Not exactly a ringing endorsement for their treatment of the contestants.
Totally. It makes you question the whole industry, you know? Is this just par for the course? The price you pay for a shot at fame?
And it's easy to get caught up in it. MrBeast is huge. Everyone wants a piece of that pie.
It's true. But this case, it's a reminder that we can't just ignore the potential for harm, even if it's happening behind the scenes of a goofy video.
We've got to hold these creators accountable. And platforms like Amazon, they need to step up too. They can't just turn a blind eye when there's potentially exploitation going on.
It's on all of us to demand better.
And it's bigger than just MrBeast,
Yeah.
right? This whole thing could have ripple effects.
Oh, absolutely. This case, it's like a canary in a coal mine. We're talking potential legal precedents being set.
Right, because if the court says, yep, those contestants were employees, plain and simple.
Game over. Everything changes. Production companies, they'd have to completely rethink how they do these big, splashy productions.
More money, more lawyers, maybe a bit less move fast and break things, huh?
Exactly. It could level the playing field a bit, you know, give the contestants some actual power, some protection.
It's kind of poetic when you think about it. MrBeast, YouTube, this whole world of online fame, it could end up changing the rules of the entire entertainment industry.
It's a classic David and Goliath story, except instead of a slingshot, we've got a legal complaint.
And a whole lot of viral outrage. But seriously, this case, it highlights something we don't talk about enough. Transparency.
Right. Like, what goes on behind the scenes matters. Just because something looks fun and glamorous online doesn't mean it actually is.
And for every MrBeast out there are thousands of people trying to break into that world, often making huge sacrifices, taking advantage of every opportunity, no matter how sketchy.
And that's where things get dangerous. When you've got that much ambition, that much pressure to succeed, it's easy to overlook red flags.
Or to feel like you don't have a choice but to go along with it.
Which is why this case is so important. It's a reminder that we can't just turn a blind eye to potentially exploitative behavior, even if it's happening behind the scenes of a viral video.
We've got to hold these creators accountable and ourselves accountable too. We're the ones clicking, liking, sharing. We have a responsibility to be informed and to support ethical content.
Couldn't agree more. Don't just watch the show, ask questions about how it's made.
Well said. So to wrap up this deep dive, Beast Games, a $100 million spectacle, now at the center of a legal battle that could change everything. We've got allegations of mistreatment, safety concerns, and a whole lot of questions about what happens when the line between entertainment and exploitation gets blurry.
It's a story about power, ambition, and the human cost of viral fame.
And it's a story that's far from over. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and as always, stay curious and stay informed.